What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Silly Strategics. And on this episode, we're going to be talking about suppressors. 7 myths that a lot of civilians have, a lot of people have about suppressors. We're going to go over these myths and we're going to make this another bang, 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 banging video. Now roll that beautiful Silly Strategics intro. All right, man. So myth number one that people have about suppressors is that suppressors are super quiet, like how they are in the movies, man. You watch any movie, man, you see suppressors going off and there's people shooting guns and with suppressors and it's super quiet, like it's not, hey, honestly, man, the movies make suppressors look super cool, man, but it's not that quiet, man. Yes, suppressors do suppress the overall shockwave, the overall crack of the bullet leaving the muzzle at those high velocity speeds. What a suppressor does, especially for a rifle, AR-15 300 blackout, it does help suppress the sound. That's why it's a suppressor, not a silencer. It suppresses that bang, that immediate, that cracking of the breaking the sound barrier when it leaves the muzzle. That loud banging sound, is what you hear. And what the suppressor does, it just baffles it. There's a couple baffles in the suppressor that when the bullet goes through, it just kind of like baffles those sound waves a little bit. Can you shoot a rifle with a suppressor without earphones? Yeah, you can. I mean, it's not as loud, but understand that it also depends on your ammo, because if you shoot supersonic ammo through the suppressor, it's gonna be super loud. It's gonna be super loud even with the suppressor, and it could damage your ears. Yes, like I said, it's gonna suppress the sound, it's gonna baffle the sound a little bit, but with supersonic rounds, that bullet is moving at supersonic speeds, and when it breaks that muzzle and that loud crack bang comes out, it can potentially damage your ears. So yes, you should still use ear protection while you're shooting with suppressors, because it doesn't really avoid damage hearing loss. You know what I'm saying? If you shoot with subsonic ammo, which is slower than, slower ammo, it's gonna move at a slower rate, so it's not gonna have as loud of a cracking sound when it leaves the muzzle. So shooting subsonics is gonna make your gun a lot quieter than shooting supersonic. Supersonic rounds is still gonna have that loud crack coming out when it breaks the muzzle, when it leaves that muzzle. You know what I'm saying? When that bullet leaves that muzzle and it breaks, that cracking banging sound, is like it gets suppressed. The suppressor suppresses it a little bit. When you shoot subsonic rounds, it does sound like it's quiet enough for you to shoot it without ear protection, but I still wouldn't recommend it, because even though it doesn't sound as loud and it doesn't hurt your ears as much, it's still a high pitch. It's still super high pitch that can damage your hearing. So myth number one, suppressors are movie quiet, man. No, it's not, man. It's not like that, man. Even with handguns, you're still gonna hear that cracking sound when the bullet leaves the barrel and breaks that muzzle. You're gonna hear that loud banging sound. That's where the bang comes from. Suppressors just suppress it just a little bit, just enough where it's not super loud. So anyways, myth number one, suppressors are movie quiet, man. They're not movie quiet. Don't believe that hype. Don't believe the hype. Myth number two, that suppressors have a short lifespan. Back in the days, when they first came out, when they were first working on the suppression technology, when they were working on it, the materials and stuff that they were using back in the day, they wouldn't last that long, and they would, you know, break apart and they would fail after a while. So back in the days when it first was coming up with the suppressor technology, the suppressors used to break easy because, you know, they were learning about it, they were trying to master it. And fast forward to today, the technology that they have, the baffles that they have inside these suppressors are super heavy duty, and I promise you these suppressors are most likely gonna outlast you. They're gonna outlive you. These suppressors are gonna outlive you. As long as you take care of them, you clean them when you're supposed to, these suppressors are built to last. And so you don't have to worry about your suppressor breaking, you know, because suppressors aren't cheap, man. They run anywhere from $800 to like several $1,000s, you know what I'm saying? So you don't want to spend that much money on something that's just gonna break after a couple hundred rounds. These things are built to last hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of rounds, man. So that's another myth. Get that out of your head. Suppressors don't last long, they have a short lifespan. That's a myth. Let's get that myth out of here. Let's move on to the next myth. Myth number 3: suppressors are only good for military and law enforcement, meaning only military and law enforcement should have a reason to use suppressors. And that's not true, man, because suppressors can come in handy for civilians. If, like, for example, perfect example why I would use suppressors is for a home invasion. If somebody breaks into my home at 3 in the morning and I use my 300 blackout in self-defense, the 300 blackout round is super loud, especially coming out of my short barrel. You know what I'm saying? My barrel is a shorty, so that 300 blackout velocity coming out of that short barrel in the middle of the night in a house is gonna be ringing eardrums. It's gonna be ringing your eardrums like crazy. It's gonna have your eardrums like banged up. That's why I would much rather have to shoot my 300 blackout suppressed to help some of that, to help bring it down. Because think about it, somebody breaks into your house in the middle of the night, you're in your pajamas, you're in your underwear. Are you gonna have time to go look for your hair protection, your hearing protection, you know, put your headphones on? You know, are you gonna have time to do all that? No, most likely somebody breaks in your house, you're gonna grab your rifle, they got a gun, you got a gun, you're gonna take that shot without hearing protection. Civilians can use suppressors. I mean, it's gonna help suppress some of that blast coming out the muzzle. So suppressors are not just for military and law enforcement. There are plenty of civilian uses for suppressors. Like I said, self-defense, shooting in your home. If you're a hunter, you know, you don't want to, you know, make too much noise from your rifle to scare off other game. You know, you might want to have a suppressed rifle. You know, it can come in handy for you, especially if you're hunting to eat. Like, you know, zombie apocalypse time come around, you know, you have a rifle, you shoot it, you don't want to scare off all the animals around you in case you miss that shot, or in case that animal don't go down. You know, you take a horrible shot and that buck takes off running, that bull takes off running or whatever. So suppressors are handy. And for civilians can use suppressors just as military and law enforcement use suppressors for operations. Civilians can use it for civilian life. Like I said, the main thing for me is home protection. And like I said, I know there's a lot of hunters out there. Hunters would benefit using a suppressor to help baffle that sound. Like I said, it's not going to make it super quiet. Animals are still going to hear it, but it's not going to be as loud. All right, myth number 4. People think that you need a special class 3 license to own a suppressor, and that's not true, man. Having a suppressor is highly regulated. You have to register it, you know, under the NFA, you know, National Firearms Act. It is regulated, but being heavily regulated doesn't mean that it's illegal. You can any civilian can own, you know, who qualifies can own a suppressor, but it's just a long, strenuous process to go through and get it. That's why a lot of people don't have suppressors, because you gotta pay for it. You gotta pay a couple $100, you know what I'm saying, just to own it, on top of buying a suppressor. So you gotta buy whatever, you gotta pay for whatever, however you paying for your suppressors, you have to pay for that. On top of that, you have to pay another couple $100 to be approved to own it. You know what I'm saying? You got to register it through NFA. You know what I'm saying? So that's what turns off a lot of people. about owning a suppressor, but owning a suppressor is not illegal. You don't need a class 3 or any special licenses to own a suppressor. You literally just have to pay for it. You have to pay for the paperwork, you have to pay to register it, you have to pay for the suppressor itself. So that's a big myth, is that you need to have a special class 3 license to own a suppressor. You don't. Let's move on to the next myth. Another myth that I've been hearing out there, I've been seeing online, is that it's illegal to hunt with a suppressor. Like I said earlier, hunters can benefit from having a suppressor because it will help muffle, their sound, and not scare away game at a far distance and stuff like that, so they can get closer to it in case they miss and fumble a shot. Suppressors is not legal for hunters to use, man. I don't know where that came from. I don't know why people believe that. I mean, I really don't know where that came from, but for some reason people think that it's illegal to hunt with a suppressor. It's not. If you're a hunter, as long as you got the proper licenses to hunt, you can hunt with a suppressor. I mean, unless there's special game out there that, the warden or the area, they tell you that, you can't hunt with suppressors, you can't hunt these animals with suppressors. But I mean, I don't know of any game wardens, or I don't know of any specific animals out there that you need permission or you can't hunt with a suppressor. So that's a myth. If I'm wrong out there, like I said, I'm not an avid hunter, I'm not a big time hunter and stuff like that. I don't know a lot of the ins and outs of hunting, but it's not overall, in the overall aspect of what I'm talking about, it's not illegal to hunt. Now, if certain animals have specific laws and bylaws that you have to follow on hunting, and you can't use a suppressor on them, then I guess that's what it is. But overall hunting, it's not illegal to hunt with a suppressor. Let's move on to the next topic. One of my favorite myths about owning a suppressor is that some people think that it's illegal for civilians to have suppressors. It's not illegal for a civilian to own a suppressor. Right now I'm still active military, but even when I become a civilian in the pretty near future, it's not going to be illegal for me to own a suppressor. I just have to, like I said, do that paperwork, send it away, wait several months, weeks, however long it's taking nowadays, and then once I get my tax stamp, then I can go ahead and take my suppressor home. But it's not illegal for civilians to own a suppressor. There's a lot of people who wish it's illegal for civilians to own suppressors, which I don't know why, but I mean, some people just think of, oh my god, it's a suppressor, you can go and kill people in silence. And no, that's it. That's a myth. Get that out of here. It's not illegal for civilians to own a suppressor. Another myth that I've been seeing and been reading about and seeing people talk about a lot is that putting a suppressor in your rifle or your pistol takes away from the velocity, takes away from the power that it has. And if you really stop and think about that, it really makes no sense, because when you add a suppressor to your barrel, you're extending the length of your barrel. So if you extend the length of your barrel and make your barrel longer, that means the bullet is going to have a little bit more time to travel further, right? So I'm not saying that having a suppressor is going to make your bullets go further or give you higher muzzle velocity. That's not what I'm saying. But if you think about it, you can shoot further distances with longer barrels. The shorter your barrels are, the shorter distance, because it's a shorter barrel for the round to spin and get out the tube, right? So if you think about it, the longer the barrel, the longer the bullet should travel, right? Technically, the longer the barrel, the longer the bullet should travel. So if you have, let's say, a 10.5-inch barrel and you add this suppressor that's about 6 inches to it, that's 16.5 inches. So you should have more velocity coming from the suppressor, right? Isn't that how that works? I mean, like I said, man, hey, I'm no science guy, I'm no technical guy, man. I don't sit here and analyze this stuff and be like, oh yes, this is the velocity and this, and look, man, I'm a slow Army veteran, man. I don't know all these fancy big words. I don't use all these fancy big terms to try to sound smarter than everybody. I talk like the regular average Joe. You know what I'm saying? I'm speaking to the regular average Joe. If you're one of those guys who you want technical analysis and you want specific numbers and a breakdown of exact velocities, I'm not your guy, man. I speak for the rest of the slow population out there, average education, average IQ, you know what I'm saying? I'm not sitting here to sound like I'm some smart scientific guy. That's not who I am. I'm I was never a fan of school. I always stopped. Well, whatever school I was doing, I always stopped going because to me it just wasn't for me. So I'm not gonna sit there and act like I'm some big time smarty pants and give you all these technical and numbers and crunching the numbers and giving you algebra equations of velocities and stuff like that. All I'm gonna say, I speak for the regular average Joe people who don't have time for all that. Technically, to me, in my head, if I add a 6-inch suppressor to a 10.5-inch barrel, that makes my barrel total length 16.5 inches, which means the round is going to travel a little bit further and have a little bit more velocity. Hey, like I said, it's all going to come down to ammunition type and grain type. So there's no specific science. I mean, there's science to this, but I'm not the scientist, man. I'm just a regular Army veteran, you know what I'm saying? I just love guns, man. I don't know all the technical stuff. So like I said, if you want technical analysis and technical breakdowns and stuff like that, this is not the channel for you. I speak for the regular average Joe. When I have conversations, I talk about regular average Joe stuff, and I try to break things down so the regular average Joe can understand what I'm talking about. But anyways, that's another myth, man, that if you add a suppressor, it kills your velocity and it messes up your functions of your weapon. That's false, man, because at the end of the day, even with a pistol, if you put a 4-inch or 5-inch suppressor on a 4-inch barrel, you know what I'm saying, that barrel is longer, that barrel is getting extended, so that round should travel further. That's just my basic, to me, that's just basic military math, man. If you add a 4-inch suppressor on a 4-inch barrel, that gives you 8 inches, that round should travel further. I'm just saying, is it gonna have more power? I don't know. I don't care. As long as a round hits a target, then it is what it is, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, I'm not the technical guy, man. Let's move on to the next thing, man. The question that I will get all the time is, sorry for interrupting the video. I know you guys are all into it, but I need to take a quick second to give a big shout out and thank you to the channel sponsors, Wicked Arms Customs and Tactical Pontoon Triggers. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. Thank you guys for sponsoring the channel. Now let's get back to this content. So why would you want to own a suppressor? What would be the benefits? Well, like I mentioned before, if you have to discharge your weapon in your home during a self-defense situation, then a suppressor is definitely going to help you, because like I said, you're not going to have time to put on your air protection if somebody breaks into your house and they got a weapon and they're coming at you, they're invading your space. You're not gonna have time to put your air protections on. I personally don't sleep with my air protections next to my bedside. I mean, maybe I should, maybe that would be part of the, you know what I'm saying, but I don't. Just keeping it 100 with y'all. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to y'all and say yes. I keep my kit and I keep my head my air protection right next to my rifle by my bedside every night. I'm not gonna say that, man. That's not true. Y'all see where my kit is at, man. I keep both my kits in here, man. This is their permanent place of duty, man. This is where they are, man. So I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. If I have time to run downstairs and grab a kit, throw it on, then I will. If I have time to run downstairs and grab my air protection, I will. But like I said, most likely I'm not. So that's why I'd rather shoot my 300 blackout with a suppressor just to help my ears. Another benefit, like I said, if you're a hunter, I already gave you those explanations if you're a hunter. Another reason too is that people think that if you have a suppressor that it silences it. That's why they call it silencers, because it silenced the gun. Hollywood came up with the term silencer. It's not a silencer, it's a suppressor. Like I said, it suppresses the sound. And one of the benefits, and a big benefits of having a suppressor, is the two things that a suppressor does for you. Like, let's say in an actual tactical, you know, military operation type of situation, or you know, let's say the aliens invade and we all got to band together as humans and, you know, fight off the aliens and stuff like that, right? One of the benefits in a live fire situation of having a suppressor is, what the suppressor does is it helps lower your muzzle flash. If you're shooting in the nighttime and you have to take a shot and multiple shots, the suppressor helps like mitigate your muzzle flash. Most of my shots that I shoot with the suppressor on, you don't even see a muzzle flash. But every once in a while, when you get a round that's loaded up pretty hot, I guess you'll see like a little flash, but it's not a big bright fireball. You see like a little flash coming out the muzzle. You see like a little flash coming out the muzzle, but it's not a big fireball. And that's one of the benefits of shooting a suppressor. If you're in a combat situation, you're in a fighting situation, you're fighting for your life, other people with guns, whether you're in a combat zone, whether you're fighting off tyrannical government or whatever, and you're fighting troop on troop, the suppressor is going to help you out because, like I said, it's not gonna be, you're not gonna take a shot and it's gonna be completely quiet and nobody's gonna know where the shot comes from. But what it's gonna do is gonna reduce your muzzle flash. You'll be able to take more shots and shoot more without giving away your position because of your bright fireball that's coming out your barrel. So that's one of the benefits. That's one of the main benefits, at least in a military combat situation, having a suppressor does. It helps reduce your muzzle flash, which means the enemies don't know exactly where you are because they can't see your fireballs and where you're shooting from. So that's one of the main things. Another thing, which is the second reason why I think suppressors come in handy in combat situations, is that let's say you're up in the mountains somewhere, and you and your team, your squad is going through the mountains on patrol or whatever, and then you see some bad guys down below that you have to engage, right? You got the green light to engage these bad guys, and so you raise up your rifles, you take these shots. Let's say you just take one shot, crack, one shot, one kill. You take that bad guy out. If he has buddies around him, or let's say you missed the shot, the wind might have taken the round off a little bit. Let's say you miss a little bit, right? But he's gonna hear, like I said, he's gonna hear the crack of the round going off. You know what I'm saying? He's gonna hear it. But what the suppressor does is that it makes it harder for the people on the receiving end to pinpoint exactly where that round was fired from. So let's say there's a group of bad guys, their back is towards you, you take the shot, you shot one of the buddies, they're gonna hear the crack of the round going off, going through the barrel, breaking out the barrel, breaking the muzzle. They're gonna hear it, but they're not gonna be able to pinpoint exactly where it came from. All they're gonna know is that the round came from that direction. And this is a big sector of fire to try to pinpoint somebody in an outdoor, in a mountainous range. If you're out in the mountains of Afghanistan somewhere, you take that shot, they're going to hear it, but they're not going to be able to pinpoint it because the suppressor suppresses the blast just enough where they're going to be able to hear it, but they're not going to have that sense of direction of where the blast came from. If I'm facing you and someone's in a mountain with a suppressor and he take a shot at me, and let's say he misses or he hits one of my buddies, I'm going to hear the shot behind me, but I'm going to have no sense of direction of where that round came from. If it came from that direction, if it came from that direction, I'm not going to know. And that's what the suppressor does. It not only does it suppress your muzzle flash from giving away your position, but it also gives you a little bit of noise discipline where they can't pinpoint your exact location. All they're going to know is that the shot came from back there. They're not going to know where it came from. If it came from the eastern, the western, they're not going to know where it came from, but they're going to know it came from behind of them. And that's what the suppressor gives you the advantage, is that it just gives you a little bit more of a tactical advantage because, like I said, they're not going to be able to pinpoint your exact location because the suppressor baffles the sound so much that they can't pinpoint where the shot came from. It also reduces your muzzle flash, and that's the big thing. That's one of the big reasons why in combat suppressors are so effective, because if it's in the middle of the night and it's in the dark, the bad guys know they can hear the rounds is coming from that direction. But if they can't see where it's coming from, all they know is coming from that direction. They don't know if it's coming from the bottom end. They don't know if it's coming from the top. They don't know if it's coming from the middle of the mountain. All they know is it's coming from that direction. And that's what suppressors does. It gives you that tactical advantage over the bad guys where they can't pinpoint your exact location. Suppressors are not there to make you be super stealthy and super quiet where you're not going to hear anything. Like I said, the bad guys are going to hear the shots come in. They're just not going to be able to pinpoint the exact location. They're not going to be able to know exactly where the shot is coming from. They're going to know it's coming from a general area, but they're not going to pinpoint your exact location. So that's the benefits of having a suppressor in a combat tactical situation. But in a civilian situation, just being able to, if you have to take that shot, if you got to defend yourself, you got to defend your house, your property, your loved ones with a suppressed pistol or rifle, you want to not blow their eardrums out. You don't want to shoot 3, 4, 5 to 10 rounds in your house of a 300 blackout or 5.56 unsuppressed, because those things are super loud and it's gonna scare the crap out of your kids, and it's just gonna make everything more amplified if you're shooting a gun, a rifle, a 300 blackout or 5.56 or whatever, whatever round that you decide to shoot. If you shoot that multiple rounds inside your house, that sound is just gonna amplify everything and make it 10 times more scarier than it already is. So having a suppressor is going to just help bring it down a little bit. Like I said, the bad guys might not be suppressed. If they shoot a couple rounds off, it's gonna scare the crap out of everybody. I get it, but you don't want to blow your eardrums out defending yourself. So that's why suppressors are important. That's why I think if you can, you should try to get a suppressor, especially for your home defense weapon, especially if it's a rifle, a high caliber rifle. So you want to make sure that you have a suppressor, so in the event that you shoot it inside your house, you're not blowing your eardrums out, you're not blowing your family's eardrums out, and it's just going to be a better I don't want to say it's gonna be a better, it's gonna make the situation better, because if somebody's breaking into your house and trying to kill you, I mean, there's nothing that can make that better other than you stopping that threat. But another myth also, I'm just gonna add this in the myths, is that people think that if you shoot your gun inside your house in self-defense that you're gonna go deaf, you're gonna go, you're not gonna hear. Maybe the people next to you, if you're shooting, maybe your family, if they happen to be next to you, maybe their ears might go ringing, maybe their ears might go, might have that beep and sound once they hear that pow. But from experience and from what I've noticed shooting, and I've shot a couple times where I didn't have air protection in, and from what I've noticed is that when you're in that moment, the adrenaline kicks in, and something happens with your adrenaline where it kind of like blocks your ears out a little bit. I can't explain that. I don't know what the scientific term is. I should do my research on that. But something happens to your body when you're in a situation and your adrenaline is pumping. I don't know if it just sends blood up to your ears and your head and it just muffles out some of the sounds. But when you're shooting a gun in a self-defense situation or in a combat situation in a room and you don't have air protection, like I said, when you're shooting, everything kind of happens, everything seems like it's in slow motion, and everything seems like the volume gets turned down a little bit. I can't explain it. Anybody out there who ever been in a gunfight, whether in combat or law enforcement or street gunfight or whatever, if you've been in a gunfight where somebody was shooting at you and you're shooting at them, I'm pretty sure they're gonna say that everything just kind of got quiet. Because I don't know, like I said, I don't know if it's just your adrenaline, like your brain is just trying to it's in survival mode, so it just shuts down other things, other parts of your body. I don't know exactly what happens, but when you're in that situation and you shoot a gun that's unsuppressed in a room, in a car or whatever, it doesn't affect you as much as when you're not stressed out or when you're not full of adrenaline. It's super weird. If you guys know what I'm talking about, hit the comments below, man. I know some of you guys are looking at me like, what? You're crazy. But when you're in a life and death situation and your adrenaline is pumping, you can shoot a gun and it doesn't sound as loud for some reason. Like I said, I don't know the technical scientific terms for it. I'm not that guy. I'm not the science. I'm not the science guy. You know what I'm saying? But there's a term for that happens when your body just kind of shuts down and everything kind of happens. It seems like it's quieter and everything seems like it's in slow motion. That happens, and I don't know what that is. I don't know what comes over the body, but I guess that's just the body going into survival mode, and so it just focuses on what the threat is. It focuses on the deadly threat and nothing else matters. It shuts down everything else except for your focus to defend yourself. But anyways, man, thank you guys for tuning in. If you guys like the episode, man, if you guys like what we're doing here at Sealy Strategics, man, drop a like, man. Smash the like button. Show your support, man. Like I said, man, I'm not no expert on here. I'm not no scientific guy. I'm not no science guy that's going to come on here and give you guys scientific numbers and breakdown. I just keep it 100% simple. You know what they say? Keep it simple, stupid. You know what I'm saying? So I keep it simple, and I don't like to come on here and talk all this technical. I could come on here and spit all this military jargon and give you all these technical specs and all this stuff, but the average person is not going to understand it, man. So I just like to have a conversation like I'm talking to my son. I like to have conversations, and I like to break down everything, and I like to explain everything like if I'm talking to a child. And I'm not disrespecting anybody. I'm not saying that, oh, you guys are stupid or you guys are slow and I gotta talk to you like a child. That's not what I'm saying. But I don't want to confuse anybody, especially when it comes to the Second Amendments and your guns and your rights to carry firearms and stuff like that. I don't want it to go over anybody's head. So I want to break it down Barney style so everybody can understand what I'm talking about. I'm not gonna come on here. Hey, if you guys want to hear somebody who can speak, that have real articulate speech and know how to talk and how to use words and sounds pretty and sound good, listen to my boy Coleon Noir, man. My man's is educated and he knows these big words. He's a lawyer. You know what I'm saying? I'm not him. If you guys want somebody that talks like that, hit up my boy, man. I have no problem shouting out Coleon Noir. He probably ain't never gonna see my video, man. Like I said, I'm just a little peon YouTuber that has 1,300 subscribers right now, man. Check out Coleon Noir. He can articulate a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about. He articulates it in such a professional and, you know, just an enlightened way. I can't even explain it, man. Like, even though he talks like he uses big words and everything, I understand what he's saying, because like I said, I know a lot of these words. I just don't think about it when I'm shooting, when I'm recording the cameras. I don't think about these words to articulate them in such a professional and such a smooth and clean manner like he does. And that's why I give a mad respect to you, Coleon Noir, man. I look up to you, man. I mean, I'm never gonna try to be like you. I'm not gonna try to talk and speak all these big analogies and use these big words. Not me, man. I'm just hey man, I'm just a little island boy, you know what I'm saying, from the islands, man, and grew up in the slums, man. So I'm not gonna sit here and try to act like I'm something I'm not, man. I'm just gonna keep it 100, and I'm gonna keep my conversations on a level where we can understand each other. I want you guys to understand me, and so I'm not gonna sit here and speak all these big words and break down scientific analysis and give you numbers and none of that, man. I'm just gonna break it down for the average person can understand what I'm talking about, man. But anyways, thank you guys for tuning in, man. Like I said, if you guys like what we're doing, go ahead and hit that like button, man. If you guys love the channel, go ahead and subscribe, man. We're only gonna get better. We're only gonna get bigger. We're only gonna get better, man. It's only one way. It's only one direction from here, man, and that's to the top, man. And hey, I don't know how big this channel is gonna get. I really don't care, man. I'm just doing this because I love doing this. I'm not doing this for any other reasons other than this is what I love. I want to educate people who are unsure, people who don't know about firearms. I'm here to try to educate you and break it down as Barney style as possible. So some people might not like my channel because I don't speak with all these big words. I don't have a big vocabulary and use these big fancy words to make things sound pretty. That's not who I am, man. I keep it 100. I'm gonna keep it 100% real so you guys can understand what I'm trying to do. And that's the point of the whole thing, is I just want to spread the message, and I want people to understand the message. I'm not trying to confuse you with big fancy words. I just want you to understand that we need to support, we need to protect, and we need to advocate our two-way rights, man. But anyways, I'm gonna say, why I say that again? I always say that, man. But anyways, make sure you guys hit up the merchandise store, man. Make sure you guys like, make sure you guys subscribe, make sure you guys tell a friend, make sure you guys just show your support, man. Just show love, man. Hit the like button, subscribe, man. But until the next episode, we'll see you guys in the next episode. But before we leave, I have to tell you, always be greater than you were yesterday. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready whenever shit hits the fan. Here at Sealy Strategics, we live to train and we train to live. Staff Sergeant Sealy's out.